Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kailee.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
And if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Thanks. Talk.
What an intro.
If we haven't lost the people already.
We should probably just talk about the obvious.
Do you want to start us off and tell them?
Yeah, we got new mugs.
New mugs. I'll give a close-up. If you're watching on video, you can see that says, "We get to do this," with the OE, Oakender's branding.
And that is the only visual difference really today.
Yeah.
But
we should look at that for the mugs.
And if you haven't yet, I have, I think, 9 left. Yeah, I think I have 9 mugs left. If you would like one of these beautiful mugs that say "We Get to Do This,"
they're real nice.
Designed and crafted by the one and only Custom Ink. You can leave a review, follow the pod, and leave a 5-star review. Feel a little comment of what you said, and then text us and say you did that. We'll bring you a mug. Or if we see you in person for classes or sessions or whatnot, you can do it that way too. We haven't even been fact checking, so pretty lenient on it. Don't lie though. That'd be kind of sad.
You.
We trust you.
But also, if you don't want a mug, we would still really appreciate that. Yeah,
if you don't like mugs, what's wrong with you? And then if that is the case, yeah, if you could still leave us a review, that'd be sweet.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep these glasses on the whole time.
Okay, yeah, we might as well talk about the other outfits.
I'm tripped out right now.
Well, Kailee, what did you do? This is our first pod back since Javelina.
Yeah, which is already, so we're recording this on a Saturday. So exactly 2 weeks ago, I was still out on the trail alone, and you were getting ready to come pace me.
Yeah, actually, I had 3 hours still yet.
Yeah, you were sleeping. You were off duty.
Yeah. We did get these fancy shirts, so we're throwing on our Javelina vibes for the recap.
Mm-hmm.
I got this fun bandana as a pacer. Oh, I should have put my pacer hat on. Oh, well. Wait, no, yeah. I got this here, though. There. I got this hat there, though. So this is from there, too. Run steep, get high. And then we got these Hoka bottles. It says, grease your crease, and we'll F you up. And then there's a little cactus.
And then, this is actually the first time I've worn this finisher shirt. It says the number 100 and then Jundred on it. Javelina Jundred with the pig. It's nice. I like it.
And that bandana. You got a lot of things, though. You got a backpack, too, right?
Oh, yeah. I've got the backpack. I got this bandana for running that also says Javelina Jundred. This is an ice bandana. I'm sure we'll talk more about apparel here, but and what I wore during the race. But these ice bandanas were life-saving. So there's like a little pocket in back that you like slip ice in, and then you zip it up, and they come in clutch for these races, which was kind of sad that I probably won't be wearing it for a while now, but that's how I got to throw it on today. Wow, looks so much different out here without these glasses on. I feel like it's from the 80s, basically. Like, give this red tint to my world, basically.
So we recorded a podcast a few weeks back about that Cuvetta slightly sponsored. Is this one still slightly sponsored by Cuvetta?
Yeah, we'll say that.
Sweet. This is slightly sponsored by Cuvetta. So, Kailee, do you want to just give the rundown on that quick?
Yeah. So Hopefully you're not all annoyed by our Javelina talk by now, because now this is the third podcast we've recorded about Javelina.
Those have been like the most listened to
But
podcasts, though, so people can't be that annoyed. And people
okay,
commented and said, like, we want the final recap. So,
okay. For those of you who want to listen to this, thank you for being here and listening.
and I hear we're taking David Roche's listeners now, so
Yeah.
slowly they're trickling over to us, actually.
Um,
Hashtag IYNY.
IYNY.
Hashtag IYKYK.
Can you explain what that means?
Hashtag if you know, you know.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, so episode 33, I believe, was our first slightly sponsored episode by Cuvetta.
33.
63. It's Saturday night. I'm sorry. Episode 63 was from Cuvetta Athletic, and just again, little plug for Abby, who makes all of the Cuvetta clothing. So during the race, I wore my shorts that were Cuvetta shorts, and they were so nice. I wore those through the entire race. And they have like nice little pockets. They have little elastic at the bottom, and then they were actually like very comfortable like in the waistband line, which I like things to be comfortable in that area, not squeezing weird. So yeah, I wore those the whole time, and then I wore my Cuvetta sports bra underneath a sun hoodie. So sun hoodie is like a long sleeve that has a little hood, and then it has UPF protection on it. And I didn't really get any sunburn actually through the whole race. So during the day I was wearing a Mountain Hardwear sun hoodie, and then at night I switched into my Wild River Running sun hoodie, and they both kept me covered and great. So yeah, shout out Abby for providing the Cuvetta clothes, because they came in clutch for the race.
So we had that episode that kind of set the background on why you chose this, what you were thinking going into it, all of that. So we're probably not going to talk much about that. If you want to know those types of like pre-race things, go give that episode a listen. It is
63.
yeah, you're right. Sorry. 63. Then we did the kind of like during the race episode and quick recap after in the hot tub. That's 64. That one's pretty cool because it gives a kind of cool insider view, I thought. And it was a fun format to do as well and different. So, and then today is going
And
to
that
be
one is best listened to on YouTube. So I would watch it, or if you're on Spotify, like actually go to like actually watch the video for it, because then it will make more sense and you won't just hear like random like sounds and horns and stuff going off. But whatever floats your boat. They're both cool.
yeah, and that actually on YouTube is I believe our most listened to
Most watched. Yeah.
or most watched podcast, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, funny. It's episode 64 and it currently has 64 views,
Wow.
which is kind of sick. Yeah, that's the most views, hands down. So that's cool.
Yeah.
People love you.
And then so we promised this follow-up episode after the race. And so like I said, it's been 2 weeks. And I feel like the last 2 weeks have been quite the roller coaster, to say the least.
We were going to record on Wednesday, but I had a meltdown, so we didn't. And here we are Saturday. So, but yeah, I think hormonally we'll maybe talk about all of that. Anyways, if you're okay, I think that the best place to start with this is monster toe. Everyone wants to know what's going on with the toe. Tell
Right
us,
off the bat.
just fill us in, and then we'll go from there. What happened?
All right, so Monster Toe ended up getting very famous throughout this 2-week span of my race. So to back up a little bit, so during the race, I was wearing my Nike Zagama trail shoes, which are very comfortable. I really like them. But normally in the past, I've changed out at least my socks and done foot care every 20-ish miles. And by foot care, I mean I really like using Frail Toes, which is kind of like the squirrel's nut butter, like a little ointment stuff. And then I spray some Evil Bone water because that helps to cool them off and get circulation down there. And then slap on a new pair of socks, and then occasionally change shoes. This race, I was originally going in planning that, but I ended up not changing anything until mile 60 because things were going really well, and I just wanted to keep going, and didn't want to lose momentum. So, I started feeling my toe, though. So this is my left big toe. I started feeling it around mile 40, where I was like, "Okay, this toenail's definitely coming off." Like, I could feel it, like if you don't like foot stuff, I'm sorry, skip ahead maybe, but, like, I could feel the toe, like, coming up off of the nail
Mm.
bed, and I knew something wasn't right, and then also I could feel the backs of my heels. I thought it was just sand rubbing back there, but I was like, "Well, it's desert, it's sandy, this stuff is just bound to happen, so there's not really much I can do but keep running through it." And so finally at mile 60, which is after the third lap, so the 20-ish mile loops, right before I was picking up Jacob and going into the night laps, I was like, "Okay, I need to take off these shoes and sort of see what's going on and then change out into something else." And so I took off my socks and immediately just saw, like, blisters in my arches, blister over my toe. The backs of my heels I saw were not well either, but I think it was actually good that it was kind of dark too, so I couldn't really see what was going on, and I slapped some blister bandages onto the blisters that I had and wrapped one around my toe and just kept going. Then I changed socks. I was gonna put on my, Mizuno Daishi trail shoes, but I tried to put in 2 toes, and I could tell my feet were way too big and painful for that. So then I put on my Ultra Lone Peaks, which have, like, a bigger, wider, um, toe bed or toe box. So, threw on those Lone Peaks, started running with you, and I knew that again, something was, like, really wrong even with that, like, it helped having more room in the feet, but I could feel every, like, step, I could feel my toe just, like, pressing on the shoe, and when I had switched them, I could see that there was also blisters, and it wasn't just my nail bed that was coming off, like, there was, like, a big, like, blood blister forming under that toe. But again, there's nothing I could do, and it ended up feeling better to keep running versus walking, which was actually I'd rather have it be that than vice versa. Because during the 200 when I had, like, a knee issue happen, if I couldn't run without pain, so I'd rather be able to run than walk. Um, and yeah, it was just one of those things I just had to keep running through, and I knew that the more I ran, the faster we would be done, and I could take care of it later. So then fast forward to after the race, take off my shoes in bed and see that backs of my heels are just completely rubbed raw, like pretty decently deep. So for my first sleep, I couldn't be laying flat because the backs of my heels were rubbed raw, so that didn't feel good in bed. And then my toe ended up being like big and swollen, just like this huge like blister that was like under the bed, like under the bottom, on the side. And I knew it wasn't good, but started spraying it with Evil Bone water, and that first well, keep talking about the toe. So then I did end up being able, because I was really looking forward to being able to hot tub that afternoon, and I did stick up to my knees in the hot tub, and it was fine. Didn't feel great, but it was fine. And then the next couple days, it just kept getting worse and worse and just kept, like, swelling. It was hot, it was throbby, it was painful, it was tender, and I saw my acupuncturist on Wednesday, and he took one look at it, and he was like, "I've worked in, like, sports rehab, like, I worked in clinics with athletes," and he's like, "This is the worst toe I've ever seen," and he's like, "I would go get it checked out," and it was good for me to hear that, just to get another opinion. Because I knew it was bad, but that day I think it was getting worse, like, I'd say my toe swelled, like it was, like, double the size that it
It was
was.
bad.
It
It
did
was
not
bad.
it did not look good, and so I went straight for my acupuncture visit to urgent care and saw a couple of PAs in urgent care, and they were actually really impressed because they were asking how I got it, and they're like, "Honestly, like, if that's the worst battle wound that you got from the race, like, that's pretty good." But also that being said, they're like, "Yeah, this is not good," and also one of the worst toes that they had seen. So the PA ended up, well, first it was one, and then she brought in somebody else because my toe had to be seen by everyone, and she ended up draining my toe and wrapping it up, and then she wanted me on oral antibiotics for 7 days, but we got it switched to topical antibiotics, and I was just very diligent with that, and I was actually really impressed too because she said to do 15 minutes, 15-minute foot soaks, Epsom salt foot soaks twice a day, keep it clean, dry. She was totally cool with the topical antibiotics and gave me really good, like, take-home instructions and just, like, if anything changes, like, if it gets more painful, red, gets worse, come back immediately. So then the next day, it ended up filling up again after it was drained. So then I got really sad again. But then this is not medical advice, but then I drained it again myself that next day because I knew if I went in, they would just drain it again. And I have sterile needles here. So I
I think
drained
you're
it
a
again.
nurse.
And yeah, I did that stuff in the hospital before as a nurse. So I had like my own clean gauze and supplies. So drained it again, wrapped it again, diligently was doing my foot soaks, and then had to drain it again the next day. But it did start to keep getting better, and it was still hot, but it was definitely getting way better. And I wasn't able to wear closed-toed shoes for all of last week, which is really lucky that Minnesota was not snowy yet, because that would have been pretty bad. So I was wearing Birks, with, so yeah, my Birk sandals with socks all of last week because it hurt so much. And I think starting on like last weekend, we finally turned a corner and it stopped filling up. And now it just looks like black and blue. Oh, and the other tip for you guys is frankincense oil. Like frankincense, the essential oil, works really well on toenails that are falling off. So I've been putting on a lot of that oil onto my toe to help speed up this process and continuing to spray with Evil Bone Water, which is a miracle herbal spray. So, but yeah, it's funny, like, that's what people kept asking me about throughout the last couple
Everyone wanted to
weeks
know the toe.
was my toe. So, thank you all for the toe support. I'm glad we got through that together, and yeah, that's Monster Toe. She's famous.
What an intro to the pod.
Yeah, sorry, that was, like, 10 minutes of me talking about my toe.
But people wanted to know.
I don't know if that's ever been done in a
That's the
podcast
biggest question
before.
we've gotten.
Yeah, it is.
So take us into the race environment. How did this compare to other ultras? And, how'd the race go? Like, take us through your mind through that period, I guess.
Well, Javelina was so different than any race I've ever done, especially a trail race. My first couple ultras, I mean, for the first 100 I did, we had 4 finishers for that one. For Canebrake 200 last year, there were 18 of us that finished. For this one, there were, I think, about 850 100-milers that went to the start line. Then there were about 500 people that were doing the 100K. And then there were more for the night race as well. So just that alone, like the expo and everything was huge. And then so the day before we did our Hoka shakeout run, and there were a couple hundred people for that probably.
Yeah.
And just the hype alone for that was crazy. They were doing a Hoka live stream the entire time, like talking about the race. Like I've never been a part of that before.
YouTube.
It was on YouTube. There were all these like famous people there. Jacob got a selfie with David Roche. Well, maybe we shouldn't talk about David Roche.
I
But
think we just skipped the David Roche talk.
I saw Sally McRae on Friday too. And
We can talk about Sally McRae, though.
okay, Sally McRae, I've said is my spirit animal. And she helped me get through my first 100 and the 200. And then leading up to this one too. She is the host of the Choose Strong podcast, has written a book, and is just like she is very like strong body, strong mind, and which are two things that I'm also very passionate about, like mindset and getting as strong a body as possible, and then having fun with what we're doing. And so she had posted on Instagram that she's gonna be there from noon to 3 p.m. on Friday, and we did the shakeout run in the morning. We got done at, like, 10, so then we had a bunch of time to kill. I got that picture, that 100 milers get, so that was very fun, so we did that. Went around the expo, got these shirts from Rabbit, and so we started looking for her at noon, and by this time, we were already, like, pretty hot and getting hungry and tired because 'cause we've been on our feet now all morning, and we walked around maybe, like, an hour around the expo, you, me, and Al, looking for Sally because this the space was huge. There were camping tents there, there were canopy tents where, like, crews were setting up for their athletes. There was the, like, huge hookah tent that was selling stuff. There was the expo tent where you're, like, getting your bib. There was a bracelet making station. Like, there was so much there. It was, like, a huge
At
area.
a party.
So we're just, like, lapping this thing, again, in the sun, and for about an hour, and then finally I was like, "Guys," like, 'cause Jacob and Al were so nice doing this for me, but finally I'm like, "This is, like, the worst thing I could be doing the day before a 100 miler," like, literally standing out in the sun on my feet without any food, and I was like, "I'm manifesting that Sally is gonna be out in the parking lot, we're gonna see her, like, as we're walking out, like, I feel that." And so we start walking out to our car, which was then, like, a good distance away, and as we, like, get out to the main road, Jacob looks ahead and he's like, "It's Sally!" And she's, like, just getting out of her car with her cameraman, Cam, I wanna say?
Cam. That sounds right.
Cam the cameraman,
Cam the Cam.
and Sally looks up with, like, this big smile, and I start crying. I've never cried. I've cried for Taylor Swift and now Sally McRae when I've seen them. So big fangirl of specifically those two badass women. And she gives me like this big hug. I'm crying. I'm embarrassed, but also I'm so excited to see her. And I'm like holding my Chew Strong sweatshirt that Jacob had gotten me for my birthday this past year from Sally. And I had my True Strong book in my backpack because I really wanted her to sign it. So I brought that from Minnesota and she signed my book. And then she ended up like doing this little like interview thing with me too with her guy Cam. We talked about getting her to come to Minnesota at some point, potentially hooking up with like Mill City Running. And she was so nice. Like, I knew that she would be nice before, like, I feel like you can just kinda pick up on that, but, like, she truly, like, exceeded my expectations, and she gave me a Choose Strong bracelet, which I'm not wearing right now, but, yeah, just, like, salt of the earth human,
She's awesome.
and we were the first ones to see her that day. I listened to her podcast this week, too, and I guess she was there for, like, 5.5 hours, and just, like, didn't never even, like, got into the expo, but we were the first ones, so very cool.
Imagine being that big.
I know, she just kept getting stopped the whole time. So, that was and then Friday, so then we went home. You and Al made dinner for everyone, which was so nice, had burgers on the grill. The Airbnb we were staying at was sick, so there were 12-ish of us that were staying there. Had a pool, it had a hot tub, it had multiple rooms. So we just hung out there for the afternoon, people swam, we ate food, and then I started packing up my stuff way too late, so I don't think I got to bed until, like I don't think we slept until, like, 9:30-ish after everyone went to bed,
Sounds right.
and then we woke up at 4
Oh, it
AM?
was like
3
3.
3:30 AM the next day because I had been told if you get there after 5 PM that
AM.
you would be after 5 AM, you would be late to the start. And I was like, "Well, I'm not trying to be late to the start for this 100 miler." And so we ended up leaving at a little after 4 AM. Al made me a nice breakfast of, like, eggs and bacon and stuff, and we ended up getting there, like, 5-ish, maybe, after parking and everything, and then I ended up starting with the 6 AM wave because we got to choose between the 6 and the 6:30 start. The 6 AM, we were supposed to be going for a sub 24-hour finish, and that was not originally the goal. As you probably heard in the last podcast that we did, the post-race one, but I knew other people were starting in the 6 AM one, so I was like, "Well, I'd rather have more time in the dark and start now than 6:30 and have an extra half hour of daylight and potentially go until then 12:30 PM on Sunday versus noon on Sunday. And yeah, I mean, from the start, it was just like so many people that were there. And the first mile or so was just like straight people because there were so many of us, and it was basically single track for that first couple miles of the 20-mile loop. But it worked out because it's not like I was trying to start off sprinting anyways, and I knew I needed to hold a steady pace. But it is also interesting because I think those first, like, the first mile or two was actually two of my, like, slowest paces for the entire race, which is kind of cool over the span of 100 miles. But so right away, I hooked up with my friend Brian Cutts, who's, I think this was his 21st 100 miler. And I was like, I know how beneficial it is to be with people for as many miles as possible. I do like being alone too, but the miles just go by so much faster if you're with somebody. And since I knew he's a seasoned veteran in 100 milers and his goal was to hit sub 24, and he had it like all mapped out, like he needed to hold, a certain pace, yada yada. And I was like, cool, I'll just hang on with him for as long as I can. And if it starts to get harder than I want, then I'll just fall off and do my own thing. But at least for the first couple loop, or at least the first loop, I can stay with him. And so that first lap ended up going by pretty quick. And he's a very strong power hiker. So there were some like hills because the first lap was a little longer than the last four. And so like there was like this back hill, and we were just like power hiking past people and feeling great. So our hiking pace I kept up pretty much the whole time was around like a 14 to 15 minute per mile pace. And then running was 9:30ish to 11-minute pace or so. And that all felt like super comfortable. And any incline, we would walk it. And then we would jog for a little bit. And then we would walk some more. And that kept us right on track for a sub 24 pace. And met this other guy, Tito, on the trail, connected with him, talked about Miami and basketball, and connected with that. It was his first 100 miler. So then he was trying to hook on to us because he was just trying to finish. And yeah, you just meet like a ton of cool people out there. Um, and yeah, just kept like a super steady pace for the first couple laps. And then it just became waiting for you to be able to start with me, which again was around like the 60-ish mile mark. And so I was alone for about 12 hours, 12, 13, 13-ish hours. And so I hit the 50-mile mark about 11 hours and 15 minutes in. And I remember at that time I was like, okay, Kaylee, like you're feeling so good right now. You have a ton of time banked up if you do want to hit sub 24. But at the same time, so much can happen in the last 50 miles. So I wasn't trying to like get ahead of myself and be like, yeah, I've for sure got this. But at the same time, I was like, if I can just keep this pace and have nothing like super bad happen in these next 50, like I've got this. And then the sun went down around that time also. And that's when I started to cry because I was like, wow, I like beat the heat. I think I talked about this in the last pod too. So that was a huge ego booster. Thanks. And yeah, then caught up to you, and we moved basically. Do you want to talk about your experience that night?
Yeah, maybe you want to sign up for Javelina 100, okay?
Which is
Um,
huge.
I saw my first rattlesnake. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, I saw 2 rattlesnakes out there. Did not love that. But it got me moving. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a it
Kept me
was
very
a
aware of the trail after that.
it was a tough pacing job, that's for sure. I feel like they always are, though, in different ways, right? Like the high lonesome one I did was also very hard for different reasons. This one was the intensity was higher than I have experienced with a ultra pacing job. And I had the 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever time we finished shift. And I don't like losing a night of sleep because I'm still effed up from it 2 weeks later. It's so, so hard on your body. But I wanted to do it for Kailee. But anyways, yeah, I had a blast though. It was a great time. When we caught up to, um, Ben, we caught up to Ben, who was a friend of ours that we actually met up with in South Dakota. And I think we've mentioned him on the pod before, but we got up to him and he was by himself and he was like falling asleep on the trail.
That was like mile like 68 or
Yeah.
so.
And I was like, there he is. What's up, dude? Because I get competitive even if I'm not racing and anytime I pace. And I think part of that, though, too, I will say is because anyone I have paid, okay, actually, I'm thinking about you and Aaron specifically. Both of you have told me either before the race or like at the start of pacing duties about X goal. And then I get competitive about it. So there were a few people in this race, and I hope I can say this, that Kailee wanted to catch. And so then I was also like, yeah, I want to catch them too. So let's get competitive about this. And that's the fun thing about racing too, because they didn't want us to catch them, right? But we also all helped each other and we're all in the same game, right? And so Ben was one of those people that I was like, let's go catch up to Ben, and then we caught him and he didn't have a pacer to the last lap. So then we paced with him the whole lap. And that was like, I had a blast for those 12 miles. Ben like woke up as soon as we were with him and we just all three chatted and no one passed us. Kailee went on this tear for 12 miles. I've never seen anything like it. In all my pacing duties, I'm not like, we're on mile 68 to roughly 80. And for 5 of those miles, we were running like 940 pace. We were running uphill. We were moving. Again, it's like, it was not easy. My pacing job was not easy. And in the past, like pacing the effort has felt pretty easy, but we were moving. And that was a blast. And I remember like you kept passing people and people would say like, let's hook on to this group. And we would drop them, and I actually thought we were going to drop Ben. And Ben, if you're listening to this, I hope you don't get offended when I say we wanted to catch you. Because
Ben was already
badass.
a half hour ahead of us, too.
He also technically beat us by like half hour.
Yeah.
But Ben's a badass. And the fact that some of this stuff is, we don't shed a light on how abnormal and badass it is. This guy was literally like sleeping while he was walking and flipped a switch for 12 miles. And him and Kailee, with 68 miles on their legs, passed so many. I'm not kidding. We probably passed 30 plus people in that 12-mile stretch. So many people. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. These two.
Because everyone was like walking
midnight
at
too.
that point.
Like I was just like trying to comprehend what was going on. That was the coolest part of that whole experience. And
also to bring up Sally McRae again, her motto is pass gap bury. So I definitely had that going for the last for sure 40 miles.
Yeah.
Every person I was like, pass them. Now we gap them as much as possible, and now we bury them.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No. It's friendly competition.
Energy. Like every time we would pass someone, Kailee would just speed up. It was awesome.
It's cool because in the race, when you're not in the first, top 3 or whatever, we're all, and even then, there's no losers. We're all winners. Like if you can get to the finish, you're all a winner. Mm-hmm. But it's still just fun, little goals that help the race to go by faster too.
Yeah. Yeah. And
little wins.
And you had said again, there were a few people out there that you were like, I want to catch up to these people. Once we did that, then we were looking at watches and I was like, Kailee, everyone's kind of saying that they think you're going to go sub 24. And I don't want to put ideas in your head, but right now, you are on pace to do that. However, we're going to need to do some work in this last lap to make sure you do it. And then that was when you gave you the green light and you were like, LFG, let's go. So then I was just set on that 24-hour thing. Cause then the last lap got pretty tricky. Um, I think we moved, I think it was the same pace as that first lap, but it just felt harder and longer. I also almost pooped my pants. That was kind of wild. So Kaylee actually dropped me for like 2 miles because you can't go to the bathroom. There's no woods. So that was a different experience for me. So I just had to like get to a bathroom, and it was like a 3 mile walk, and then I caught back up to
The
Kaylee.
longest 3 miles of my entire life. I swear those 3 miles lasted like 20. It
Yeah,
felt
like,
so
how
long.
do you think I felt?
I
Just
can't
kidding.
even. It was so long. I was
It was
like,
like mile
are
90
we
for you.
ever gonna see this aid station? Yeah, it was rough.
It is funny how I somehow caught you at the aid
Yeah,
station
I
though.
still don't
I don't know
understand.
how. I had to go to the bathroom so
You had to have
bad.
been running a good amount because I
I
was
didn't run
still
a step. I
running.
didn't run a step of those 2 miles.
I was running. I don't
I was going
understand.
14-minute pace, just moving.
But so also side note, my watch died around mile 70.
Mm,
And that is when we started running. So I think maybe once like the pace and everything was just out of my mind,
mm.
I think I was just like, well, F it. Like, at least Jacob's clocking it. Like, we have it on here. And I did after a couple miles after I noticed that my watch had died. I was like, well, I can still record with Strava. So I put my phone on Strava. So at least then it like clocked those miles because I did want to see the pacing later on. But I didn't look at my phone then until the end. So I had no idea what pace we were doing. And I'm so grateful for you as a pacer because I feel like we've really figured each other out in like Jacob knows. So I like being first when I'm running. I like having the pacer behind me. And like I like feeling in control, but I like having somebody behind me to still be like pushing. And I feel like you were very good in letting me know that 24 hours was within reach, but also like not pushing me either. And like I remember you on the last lap saying like we are good right now, like we have time, but also like you need to keep moving. And because again, even though we had room in that last lap, that time extra time can go by so fast. Like you spend 20, 30 minutes at an aid station,
Goes quick.
that's your time. There goes your extra gap that you had.
Yeah,
So I
and you fell
did,
asleep at one of the, and I had to be like, okay, get up now.
yeah. Because that was, I think I still had one or two more aid stations after that before then getting back to the headquarters. And so then the worry is, okay, you can sleep at one, but now if you're sleeping at the next one and the next one, again, now there goes your goal. Like your time's just done. And so I did fall asleep at that one. That was after you really had to go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah,
For maybe like a couple minutes
yeah.
max. I remember I started to shake at that one because I was then getting cold too. That was the lowest point of the race, which it wasn't even that low, but I'd say that was the hardest part because I was still 10 miles away from the finish. So I knew I was only 10 miles, but that was when it was like really hard. And you're like, okay, come on, we got like, let's go. And we just started moving again. And then there was that last aid station that was about 3.5-ish, 3.7 miles from the finish.
It
And
took so long to get to that one.
that one also felt like 20 miles. But I stopped and used the bathroom at that one. And we just went through the aid station. I don't think we even stopped at all at that one and just kept going to the finish then.
I think it's worth mentioning how you, like, at least when I was with you, we spent max maybe 10 minutes at the one aid station that one time. Otherwise, it was like 5 minutes. Man, you were in and out. A lot of times you barely sat, which again is pretty
For
wild
me,
for a 100 miler. How much you didn't stop. You just kept going.
well, so I knew that the second I did start stopping at aid stations and sitting, I knew this from past experience, then I'll just want to sit all the time. As soon as I start sitting, then that's like game over for me in the sitting game. And so my goal was to just keep moving for as long as I could until I truly had to sit at the aid stations, and then I would sit. So until the very last lap, I didn't sit at any of the aid stations minus the headquarters when I would come back and eat like my pasta and stuff. So like every 20 miles. Otherwise, yeah, I think it was 2 to 5-ish minutes at each aid station because I would fill up my water bottles. I would get some real food, and so for nutrition, they had dates there, which were so good because they're very like easily digestible carbs and they taste good. They're very good energy. So I'd load up on dates. I'd eat a bunch of pickles. I would grab some watermelon. I would grab some oranges. And then I had a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I had some quesadillas. I had some pasta. But I was very proud of myself because I would grab the stuff and then I would keep walking. So I never like actually, again, other than the main like 20-mile headquarters where I would I ate pasta twice. Other than that, I was always moving with my food and never just like sitting down to eat, which again was very different from in the past. And then I also had gels on me that I was doing at least every 30 to 60 minutes, I would say. And again, Brian was super nice with that because he was very on track with his nutrition and eating. So every time I saw Brian eating something, I was like, okay, Kaylee, this is your turn to eat something too. So I would pull out a gel as well. And during the race too, like anytime I would think about food, because it's hard because when you're out there for 24 hours, like you start to lose track of eating. Like you just don't even think about it. So it wasn't even that I was being like intentionally not wanting to eat. It was just you don't even think about it. So anytime I would think about it, I would have something. So it was like, well, it's probably been at least a half hour now since I last had something. And then I was also drinking the BPN GNM Sport powder. So I had that in one bottle with coconut water, and then I had another bottle in my hydration vest that was just straight up water. And so I would fill those up at every aid station. And then I brought to go pack of Tailwind that then I would use at the back half of each 20-mile lap. So for the first 10 miles, I'd have the BPN GNM Sport, and then the back half, I would pour in my Tailwind and have that because I don't know how many calories and carbs, but a bunch of liquid carbs and calories. And that alone was game changer. My nutrition game, like I'm so proud of that.
That was the
And
best you've ever fueled I've seen.
oh, by far. And I knew it would help physically, yes, but mentally it helped me to stay so much clearer and to not just shut down and get like so like not nearly as emotional as I have in the past. So that's like my biggest takeaway from this and encouragement if you're doing an ultra, just fuel as much as you possibly can. And then I think the other problem that people run into is then getting digestive issues. And I was very lucky because so I like to carry the Gin-Gins, those little like candy things in my hydration pack. So I always have those. And then if I like pass people that are having digestive issues, like I'll give other people the Gin-Gins. But then for me, it just helps like actually like settling my stomach. So I'd like suck on those anytime I was starting to feel kind of like gross from like all of the sugars and gels that I was having. And then I also use curing pills, which are a Chinese medicine formula that are so good for like bloating, heartburn, digestive issues. And they're just like little black like tea pills that come in a packet. So then I would have one of those also every 20 miles. And then my stomach would immediately settle and then I'd be able to eat again. Because really, every time I'd come around for the end of that 20 miles, my stomach would start to feel weird again, where I like did not want to eat. Then I'd pop those tea pills that are just like herbs, Chinese herbs, and then my stomach would immediately feel good. So if you have any questions about those, please reach out because I don't know how, like, I see why people have digestive issues and why their stomachs just shut down and you stop eating. Because if I hadn't had those, mine also would have done that. And I also encourage you to not do iced ice water and just have like cool water, like to drink, because that will also shut off your stomach if you're just doing like straight up ice water. And it was actually really cool because they even talked about that in the Javelina race guide. Like they said, do not drink ice water.
And I know that.
Yeah. And that's another like Chinese medicine thing, but also Javelina did it too. So I was very impressed with that. So yeah, fuel was huge. Sorry, Jacob's looking here.
I'm just trying to decide where to go next from here.
Um, but yeah, so again, I already kind of talked about the apparel, but the ice bandana, huge, because I just had like this wet, cold trickle of water running down my back all like throughout the entire day. And so every aid station, they would like scoop in ice cubes for you. And then I had my sun hat on, which had like the little flaps, which I showed in a previous podcast too. That thing also came in clutch because so they had big buckets with big sponges. And so they would just like sponge you down. So I'd like walk up to them and be like, can you just like give me the whole thing? And so they'd just like drench me in water. And then so my sun hat would get all wet. So it was just like this cool like cocoon of like wet coolness around my head. And then I had the ice bandana, and then since I was wearing the long sleeve sun hoodie, that also kept me wet all day. And that was huge for just, like, keeping my core temp down. And then I'd also, like, hold on because so, like, if you're watching on the video, like, the ties of the ice bandana would get ice in them, so I'd also just, like, hold onto the ice every once in a while. And because of the spot in the middle of our palm, it's called pericardium 8, and that's, like, a spot where we needle that, and that's a really good cooling off spot. So if you're holding on to ice or if you're in the middle of a race, like a marathon, and they have ice there and you just, like, grab it and hold on to it, it's a very quick way to just cool your body off, so that helped a lot too.
And we already talked about it on the last episode, but sauna helped you.
Yeah. Heat training was incredible.
I was very happy to see how much that paid off.
Yeah,
And I'm really helping people learn from that.
yeah. That was
It's fun.
huge. I think I said this before, but on the last pod, but I never actually, like, felt hot during the race, so
I have a couple more race specific questions. Talk about community. What was it like with the support that you got like during the day there and then after and everything, I guess? How's that feel?
so cool. I mean, yeah, we talked about it when I was dying in the hot tub, but again, I just don't like, I'm just so lucky to have all of these people, and it's just so fun to be able to share it with everybody. Like, yes, it's very cool for me to do this, but it's very fun to, like, talk to, and the past couple of weeks have been so fun because 'cause I've just been having a lot of conversations with patients and people at the gym and friends, like, the questions like, "Do you sleep? What did you eat?" And just, like, so many questions about it. It's just, like, fun getting people in that and showing people that like, a lot of people don't even know that like, they don't know anybody who's done a 100 miler or anything over that or that that's even a thing, and it's just been fun, like, sharing the journey with people and reliving it every day, multiple times a day, and just, like, all of the texts, all of the DMs, like, it took me not to be, like, egotistical or anything, but, like, it took me a week to respond to everyone and, like, to look through everyone's
Sally who?
comments. It was just and each one, because I think maybe we should talk about then the last couple weeks, but it's after the race, I'm, like, very emotional, and so then, like, mentally, it takes me a long time to, like, go back and look at this stuff, and even the podcast episode that we did for the post recap, it took me over a week to listen to that and to get back like, to go back into that space, but, yeah, the amount of support and people that reached out was just literally so cool, I'm so grateful to have that.
One more race question.
Yeah.
When you actually finished, is there anything you want to say about that? About finishing the last lap, like what through your mind at the end? Right, anything you want to say with that?
I really wanted to be done by the end, but at the same time, I was like, it's one of those things like you have to appreciate it while you're in the moment too. And I remember just being like so grateful at how I felt. And I was like, Kaylee, there's no reason why you can't go sub 24 right now and why you couldn't finish this race. Like, I was moving well. I felt good. I'd been eating all day. I was peeing. One thing that I don't really hear people talking about, maybe it's just me, but I don't think it's just me. My bladder starts to get like super overactive. Like this happened in my first 100 too, where like all of a sudden I was just having to pee like every like 2 miles. And all of a sudden my body was like, you need to go now. And that happened with this one again. I think it's just your pelvic floor just gets so messed up and just can't hold it in anymore because you've just had so much like going through it all day and your kidneys are messed up. So for the last like 10 miles, especially, like, getting to that last aid station, like, there were a couple times where my bladder was like, "You need to go now," and just, like, that urgency factor. So that kind of sucks, but also it helps to keep your mind off of the other pain of your body, and yeah, and you were also really good, like, as we were out there, Jacob would be like, "Just get to Becky," or "Just get to the finish line," and breaking down the race also in terms of aid stations and not looking at it as 100 miles, like, as a whole, also is huge. So since this race had aid stations every 3.5 to every 6.9 miles, it was basically just, "Okay, get to the next aid station, get to the next aid station, get to the next aid station." And for that last lap, that was also huge. Instead of being like, "Okay, I have another 20 miles to go," it was like, "No, to the first aid station, it's like 3.5 miles. I can do 3.5 miles." And I knew the next one would be the longest because it was like a 6.9 mile one, and that's when we had your bathroom incident. I just knew that one was gonna be long, but still, 6.9 is still a lot better than, like, I never had 17 miles in my mind from that aid station. And so I just encourage that, and that goes for any race too. I mean, marathons, half marathons, you don't in my opinion, like, for my racing, I don't never think of it as that. Like, just think of, like, "Okay, now get to the next aid station, get to the next or get to the next mile marker." Like, at grandma's, how they have the big balloons. Like, I just look forward to seeing that next balloon versus thinking of, "Okay, I need to get to Canal Park." Because sometimes you can see Canal Park in the distance, and I'm like, "Don't even think about that, Kaylee, like, think about getting to the next mile." So, find a way that you can break it down. And I'll also add about the race, what really helped me was I had, like, I felt surrounded by a bunch of, like, my loved ones or just people that I love. So, like, I had my chapstick that I was putting on all day, so I never really got dry lips either. Um, sunscreen chapstick that I got from my friend Evan for her bachelorette party. I was wearing my long sleeve, sun hoodie, like I said, that was a birthday gift from my mom this year, and I was wearing my Wild River sun hoodie, which is from our friends John and Kate at Wild River Running. I was wearing my Cuvetta shorts. I was wearing an ice bandana from our friend Todd. I was wearing my Chew Strong bracelet from Sally and was thinking about her the whole time. And I'd used a pen that I got from my patient's Jennifer, who passed away from cancer last year, to have Sally, like, sign my book, which meant a lot to me. Um, and then I feel like I was gonna say something else. But yeah, just having, like, those little reminders of, like, all these people that I knew were supporting me, and then, like, I was thinking of my grandma Lori a lot and, like, what she would be saying out there, especially the miles where I was alone. I was thinking of her, like, being there with me and how she'd be like, "Kaylee, like, you don't have to be doing this," but, like, also just, like, so proud, um, thinking of me. Also, side note, it was really cute because so for my 200 miler, the Chisago County Press, I grew up in Chisago, they did an article on me, and my dad had given it to my grandma to look at because she, would read the Chisago County Press every week, and she carried around my newspaper article for months, like, in her, like, little, like, not wheelchair, but, like, her little walker thing, and would, like, just show it, and so I was
That's
thinking
so
about her
cute.
out there, because she's no longer with us, but just, like, having those reminders and people, I literally just felt like people pushing me along the whole time, so that was also, like, the community aspect of just, like, thinking about everyone else out there who was, like, literally had my back and was helping me get to the finish line. So I encourage you to for your own race, like, find little things that, like, literally, like, wrap you up in, like, comfort and help you think of others and not just yourself. And like I said before, like, I do miles for other people, so I'd be thinking about, like, my aunt or friends and be like, "Okay, I'm gonna run this hill for my Aunt Wendy. I'm gonna do this for this person." And that also helps a ton. Just, like, little tricks to take your mind off of what you're doing. And again, that can be applied to literally any race. It doesn't have to just be ultras or 100 milers.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thanks, babe.
So now that we're done, what's recovery looked like? How have you been feeling physically and emotionally? And feel free to compare it to other ultras too.
Yeah, they mess with you.
Yeah.
like, in every way. It's hard on so many levels. One, it's hard because I always compare myself to other people, which I know is the number one rule that you should not be doing. But for example, after the 200, people that had done the 200 were immediately like, can't wait to sign up for next year, and like immediately going off and doing other races. And I was like,
Ridiculous.
how? Like, I'm literally traumatized from this race, and you want to go up and sign up for again tomorrow? Like, absolutely not. And then 100 milers too. I mean, people just like are like serial 100-mile racers. And um Andy Glaze was back. Like, there are multiple people running again the next
The
day,
next day is
doing
wild
quote
to me.
recovery, like cool down miles.
That's
And I was just like
insane.
looking at my feet that were literally ripped apart with blisters, just rubbed raw. And I just couldn't imagine being on my feet running. Like, it gave me pain to my core to even think about that. So that's always really hard. So I'm like, what's wrong with me that I don't want to go do this? But then the logical side is like, Kailee, you just ran 100 miles. It's okay to take a break. And I think the other hard part is that I do preach recovery a lot and slowing down and taking time. And I'm human. And as a very motivated, goal oriented, driven human, I also have a very hard time sitting. And I was very good for the first 2 days. So we flew home the next day. So we got done at 5:23 a.m., came home, had a couple hours of terrible sleep, but 'cause again, like I said, it was no position was comfortable, and then I would turn on my side because I couldn't have my feet flat, but then my hips would start cramping, and I was very happy that they were cramping in bed because they never actually cramped during the race. Like, my body felt good, so I would rather had it during bed, but still, that made for a very uncomfortable couple hours. And this happened with the 200 too, where I just keep having to get up to go to the bathroom because, again, I'd been eating and drinking up until the second that I go to bed. And so I'd like waddle over to the bathroom, like in a lot of pain. And I also get really bad night sweats after. I don't think I got that for the first 100, but for the 200, I for sure got night sweats. And then this one, I got really bad night sweats again. And I'd kind of forgotten about that. And so I would wake up, like, literally just, like, drenched in sweat. And I never get, like, knock on wood, I'm very fortunate that I don't get night sweats ever, other than after races. And, like, TMI, but when we got back, home on Monday night, I, like, thought I had peed the bed because I was so wet. Like, I was feeling around. I was like, "Oh my gosh, did I just, like, pee the bed?" But no, it was just, like, my body literally, like, detoxing and just, like, cooling myself off. And like, my yin, which is the, like, cooling system of the body, was just completely depleted from the race. And so that was just, like, my body just, like, getting out everything. So that's pretty miserable, but thankfully that only lasted 3 or so nights,
It was better
and
than the 200.
better than the 200. And I didn't have the shakes like the 200. I only shook during that one aid station at this one, so that was nice. And I didn't have any, like, night terrors or, like, wake up. Like, after the 200, I would wake up and be like, "Don't make me go out there again." So I didn't have that for this one. But so, yeah, I took, like, a full 2 days off, but then on Tuesday, I had the great idea to take on a few patients at work, and I was only there, like, 11 to 2-ish, but I had, like, major brain fog that day, and, like, people would be talking to me, and I just felt like I was, like, in a tunnel. Like, I was just not with it. I made sure everyone was like, I was still a safe acupuncturist, but, like, that was pretty tough to even be there for a couple hours. And then I came home and slept for a couple hours. And Wednesday took a few more patients. Thursday took some. Friday took some. And but then come the end of the week, I was feeling a lot better. And I was like, wow, I'm recovering so well because I had acupuncture on Wednesday. I had a massage on Thursday. I was doing my Epsom salt soaks. I did a full, like, CBD Epsom salts Epsom salt soak, whatever, bath. Felt really great after that. I was sleeping like 8 to 10 hours a night. And so come Saturday, I was like, I'm feeling so much better. Like, I'm ready to do things again. And I had been putting off a lot of things up until the race, like leading up to it, because the training was just a lot. And I was like, I'm just going to like think about these things after. So then I started doing all those things that I had been putting off in the past like 2 weeks. And Jacob's giving me the look right now. Um, but I got excited that I had some more time, and then I crashed again. So then mid this past week, I had a headache for multiple days. I felt like nauseous. I was taking my stomach herbs for a few days. Um, I came home and slept for 2 hours on Tuesday after work. I slept an hour on Wednesday, along with getting like long nights of sleep. And I think it just messed me up even more so because I thought that I was good, but then I wasn't. So I thought I was good, so I did a bunch of stuff and then had the crash, and hormonally I think that just messed me up. And also like I should be starting my period soon, so I don't think that helped the situation at all. And I just need to remember like I I know these things. That's the frustrating part. Is like I know this stuff, so I beat myself up even more because of it. But it takes a long time to recover from these races. It takes a long time to recover from a half marathon or a marathon, let alone being out there on my feet for 23 plus hours and missing a night of sleep. Just that alone, missing a night of sleep, like it takes you a long time to recover from that. And you never actually really recover from a night of sleep anyways. But yeah, I should have been more gentle with myself, and that's something I'm constantly learning. And I think I judge myself a lot because, as somebody who is in this field, who does talk about recovery all the time and resting, um, I'm hard on myself when I don't do that because then I'm like, am I a failure for not doing this? And I get a lot of pushback from Jacob too, who wants me to chill a lot more than I do. I'm really trying,
Yeah, I think you're doing great.
but it's hard. Like I want to be helping people. I want to be progressing my business. I want to. And I think also, so I knew I was taking, like I had gone into it saying I was going to take 2 full weeks off of exercising. So it's not like I went back to running, but it was still like mentally, I was doing a lot and I was still on my feet a decent amount. And just the stress of life caught up with me.
Do you feel like you have limits? You put these questions in here. Do not even give me that look. You gave me
I
a
didn't put
list of
those in.
questions. She gave me a list. I am moderator today.
I will say that
This is
ChatGPT gave you
the
those.
list of questions for me to pull through. Tell me how she didn't set me up perfectly right there to ask if she has limits. And again, I'm just moderator.
That's such a loaded question. I didn't write that, to be fair.
All right. How has this race changed how you view your limits in running and life?
See, I don't feel like I have limits. That's the thing.
This is an interesting conversation that we should have. Honestly. No, I do mean that. I'm gonna state this now so that we have a full podcast episode about this because I do believe in limits. So, and I think that this is worth coming back to. I really do. Because I think in our relationship, something that strains us is the fact that I believe in limits and you don't believe in limits.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll put a pin in that. Yeah, there's your little teaser because we're going to have a conversation about that, I think. Anyways, and before you clickbait me on that, listen to the episode when we talk about why I believe we have limits. and how you need to recover and different things like that. I'm not saying that I'm done with that. Actually, I don't need to elaborate on that more. Okay, so let's do 3 last questions. Unless there's anything that you really want to make sure I feel like that was
Like I
great.
talked about
I
a
feel like
lot.
we got really into that. Like I feel like you are very, very, very good at talking and recapping,
Thank you.
and I admire that about you.
And you what?
I admire that about you.
Thanks,
Like, you're
Jacob.
awesome. So,
I do. I'll talk about it at the end. At the end, go ahead.
so under the wrap up and reflection section of questions I got, because so we've talked about this. We don't always do questions, but sometimes it makes sense. It doesn't always make sense to just ramble, right? So,
I feel like
okay,
I rambled a lot in this episode, but
yeah, but you know what? You get my point though. Like I like, and this is the type of episode where I feel like we need to ask some specific questions. And she's going to be on Performance Running Gym's podcast, and Aaron loves to ask questions. And like, well, Aaron's just more type A than I am.
yeah.
Right? Is that how to say it? Where I'm
Aaron keeps things
ADHD.
moving.
Yeah, I'm
So
ADHD brain, and
we
I
could
just
just
like,
ramble all day.
right?
Yeah.
So Aaron's going to be like, what nutrition did you take? How many calories? And like those nitty gritty things, which are awesome. And I'm assuming he's going to ask stuff like that. So I think we should like, when that comes out, I'll put it in here too, so you can listen to that too, because those are both going to be good episodes.
What I was gonna say too is I have a blog post that I wrote too. So if you want to know like the exact like supplements and stuff that I took, so like I did liver capsules, I was doing super xanthan, like I was doing aminos. If you want the full breakdown of that, you can get like direct like links and stuff to what I did take.
Yeah, it's just hard getting all of that in here.
I know,
You know,
but I just like it's sometimes nice to have it in written format, and then you can like look at that and see.
I think that's perfect. So we'll put the blog in the description then, and then the Performance Running Gym podcast will be in here too. Although I think this is coming out before that. So
Yeah.
Okay, last 3 questions. 1, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing for the start of the race, what would it be?
If I could go back. Hmm. I don't know. Again, not to be like I'm perfect, but I think I did everything perfectly well. I really liked going in not having the goal of sub 24 and kind of being open to it. And I was gonna say, I like to tell myself that I'm capable and I can do hard things, but I think that goes back to I don't feel like I have, well, the limits thing will be a whole another discussion, but like I feel like I can do anything that I set my mind to. And I believe that to my core. And as I said in the last podcast, if I didn't believe that to my core, I would not be doing these races.
See, I agree with what you just said, though.
Yeah, and that's different than limits.
I think we're defining limits differently. I think
Yeah, and that's
what
why
it's
we'll
going to boil
talk
down
about
to.
like limits because my body did give me a limit this past week when it shut down again. That's a limit.
Yeah,
So,
and I think I've
yeah.
just seen you shut
Yeah.
down in ways that other people haven't too, in which, you know.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and I will say this because if like I can brag, you're gonna be more humble than I am, right? I don't know what she could have done better in this race. I truly feel like it was one of those races that you look back on and go, damn, that went perfectly. And we don't get those very often. So I hope you are like enjoying that. I like damn, I was so inspired. I cried on the trail at like mile 30 we were at. I like bawled to Kailee for a second about how inspirational she was and how cool I thought it was. Like I was so blown away. Not that I didn't believe in you. Like, obviously I believed in you, but like I couldn't. I was just about to say I couldn't believe it. I don't know how to explain it, but like we were all blown away by what you did, and I think that again, your fueling was perfect. The training was pretty much perfect. I would say it was imperfectly perfect. You know, the sauna, the mindsets. Like I just really feel like you hit everything very well. So if you have questions in terms of the ultra world, I would contact Kailee. We're on the street. She's also maybe going to be a coach soon,
Yeah.
and maybe accepting
So
athletes.
give me a little push because I need a little push right now. But
So yeah, if you are someone that's looking for a coach, this girl right here, because
okay.
she knows what she's doing. I'm like the recreational side. So
And I'd like to say I also had a lot of fun. Like I truly enjoyed the race. Like I said, up until
that's
maybe
a party.
at 90, that one aid station, I was like, okay, I'm done doing hard things. I've proven I can do hard things. I'm ready for this to be done. But then got over myself and then kept going. But other than that, like it was a really fun day.
Yeah, you never hit a low. I never saw you hit a low.
No, I'd say
That
again,
you were
that
the
was the only like
first
really
person I've
fun.
ever paced where I saw no low. I saw no negativity. I saw no complaints. And I think that's specific to you too. Something I really like about you. Actually, no, because in the 200, there were times when I did get frustrated with you for some of like the things you were saying. Um, actually, so I think that
Was I
happens
ever
to
negative during
everyone.
that?
I don't know if not negative, but you definitely had more of like the I don't believe in myself right now type of talk that I had to talk you out of, which comes in hundreds. I'm not saying that shouldn't come. I'm also saying on this one specifically, it didn't seem like you ever hit a low. Like there was never like doubts, complaints, negativity, none of that. That like on this race, you just like were so focused and like dialed. Not to humble brag. It didn't seem like it was that hard for you. It didn't. And because I've seen you in like a 200 setting and I've seen you in other things. The actual race itself did not seem that hard for you this time. Like you just had this different gear. You were so determined. Like it was crazy. So
It was the after that messed me up again.
yeah, yeah, it was the
The
after.
after. As soon as I finished and like body just like shuts down, that was the hard part.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So what are you most proud of when you think about the whole experience?
I think everything you just said. Um, I'm proud of how well I executed things. I'm proud of all of the techniques that I have to keep myself going. I'm proud of how I talk to myself because I truly am like, I've talked to some people about this, but I feel like I hear so many runners that are so negative to themselves and talk so poorly to themselves. And
So many.
it's
I could go into
just,
my messages right now and show you 5 texts that I've gotten
yeah,
in the last 3 days, two
people
days of people just shitting on themselves. It's
people
so
love to
sad.
put themselves down.
So sad.
And I think that's for a multitude of reasons. But I don't think, again, I respond very well to positivity, and some people respond well to getting yelled at. I'm not that person, so
Fair.
it goes different ways for different people. But I think it's so important to be talking nicely to ourselves and to be encouraging. I think that goes, in my mind, a lot farther than saying how terrible you're doing and what a terrible human you are, how slow you're going, that you're not capable. Like, we did this exercise like dozens of podcasts ago where we were saying like negative words and how you just like immediately, like I can, even when I was just saying that, like I just feel myself like deflating when I say pain and tired and you're awful, you're terrible, versus like you are out here kicking ass on this race. There's so many other people who are still sleeping or sitting at home on their couch. Like I'm out here moving my body because I am capable. I have a capable body. I have a capable mind. I'm extremely strong. And immediately, like, I just get lifted up. And anyone who is out doing these things, like, immediately, you're an incredible human. Whether that's running a half mile, a mile, a half marathon, marathon, like, you're already at a different caliber than many people. I'm not saying other people are worse because they're not doing that, but you're just at a different level. So then to be telling yourself how terrible you are, how slow you are, what are we expecting to get out of that? Like, are we saying that to then make ourselves seem lesser so that then we get more positive feedback from others or like get lifted up from others and hear people say, "Oh, no, you're not. Like, you're wonderful." I think there's part of that maybe. Or if you make yourself feel really bad, then maybe you're not as disappointed at the end of your race with how it went because you're already expecting it to go bad. I've never really been able to understand that. Um, and this is not to say, like, I talk to myself. I'm not always nice to myself, like with other things, but during races specifically, I talk very positively and I'm always typically very proud of myself. And I think that's one of my strong suits and how I get through these races is because of the words and feedback that I'm giving to myself. And I talk to my crew about that too, and like words to use and words to maybe steer away from. Um, but yeah, that's always something that I'm proud of. And just again, the community that we built around this and how many people like knew it was happening. And I just think that's very cool.
Well, here's why I don't like to use questions a lot of times. Because the last question was, what's one takeaway you hope listeners walk away with from your Javelina story? Although a good interviewer would know just to not say exactly what I just said. So,
Speak kindly to yourselves. Like life is way too short. Like we only get one of us. Like every one of us that's living with ourselves, like that's the only body that we're gonna get. I mean, whatever philosophical thing you want to think of, but like right now, like in this human experience, like this shell in this mind that we have, like this is all we have. And this is my reminder to speak, like think of the words that you're putting in your mind every day. And when you do have negative thoughts come across, like if you're saying like you had a terrible mile time or you're you can't lift the weight that you want because you're so weak, would you let your partner be saying that to you? Would you let somebody else on the trail be saying that to you? Would you let your coach be saying that to you? Would you be saying that to like your best friend or your sibling or your parents or your kids? And I don't know why I'm coming up with this takeaway, but I think that's just like words are so powerful and just remember that. And next time you have these like spiraling thoughts and these like the negativity running through your brain, especially in races, like you have to get rid of that. Like you need to find a way to get out of that. And I think that's where mantras come in. And that's why I think anytime a negative thought does come up, you got to just flip that and say, I am strong. I can do hard things. This is what I trained for. I know I can do this. I've done hard things before. I know I can get through this. Like finding those like ways to turn that around. And I think that will get you far. And I think that's like a huge unlock for a lot of people. If the training is there, if you're hitting your splits, like especially for distances, and if you're trying to get to the next level of a time, like, you have to switch that mindset, and you have to find a way to talk to yourself positively, otherwise, that's your race, like, if you don't believe you can do something, you're not going to. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is, like, what you're speaking out loud and what you're speaking in your head, that's the frequency you're setting, and that's what's gonna come true. So, think of how you talk to yourself.
damn. Well, congrats on an awesome race. Congrats on an awesome year. Is there anything else you want to share for this episode?
Yeah, get a Jacob. You can't have mine, but,
You can't
um
have mine.
you can't have my Jacob, but if you can find like, that's the other big thing, find a partner in life that you can do crazy things with and that encourages you the whole time,
Nah,
even
70% of the time.
it's more than that.
Maybe 90%. I don't encourage you all the time.
You're very encouraging, and although you might steer me away from some things, I know that if I tell you that I really wanna do something, you'll be there for me, and you'll be there to support. And I do not know of any other pacers that were out there for 2 laps. I know a lot of people pacers that did 1 lap, but I thought it was so cool that I got you out there for 2 laps and that both of us are able to do 38 miles. Like, that's so cool, and I feel like that's very rare, and I just have a lot of fun with you, and I really appreciate how well you know me and how well we work together, and your training was on point for this. So, although I'm not currently an ultra coach yet, Jacob is a phenomenal coach,
Wow.
and he has the mindset, the heat training, the if you want to go fast or if you want to just finish, like, you work with anybody's goals. Like, you were never pushy. Like, even though you knew that I could do sub 24, you were never like, I'm going to train you to do this. It was very much like, I think you were training me in that, but like, that was never the goal. Like, I told you why I wanted to be as strong as possible and not burned out before this race. Like, those were my big things. And you did exactly that. Like, you met me exactly where I was at and you trained me where I was at. And I'm just very grateful.
Love you.
I love you, Jacob.
Time for dinner?
Dinner time. Thank you for listening to me ramble about this. It's fun talking about. So, and I think there's just so many life lessons that come out of these races. So, but yeah, if you want to chat more or have any more specific questions, obviously I'm happy to talk about that. So, thank you for listening. And this entire episode was that we get to do this moment. So, just remember that. Anytime we're out on the trails, anytime we're out running, anytime we're moving our body, like, we get to do that. And that's pretty lucky. So, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We get to do this.